Looking at my piece here, I'm thinking that I'm going to go ahead and paint the hills and see whether I need to go darker with the sky. But I might not, and I might be able to also bring it a little bit of that paint from this blue down onto the hills if I need to. I'll worry about doing the clouds after I get these hills done, getting sort of the dark parts of the clouds in. But I want to get those hills in first so I can sort of see how they're going to work. We will be dark here. This is going to be a mid-tone, and the other thing to be looking at is that, the California landscape, during the summer, all the grass goes brown. And so then the new grass is growing up in among it. And do I want to get that feeling in here? I don't think I want to be quite as gray feeling as that is. I'm sort of liking a little more of this. The green really poking through and being a little bit stronger in there. So I'll play with it. I'll play with it. It's always, I was watching a demo from a lady, Durey Wassim, and she was saying that when she paints, she finds that the painting starts telling her what to do as she's working on it. So I'm going to be using that thought in my mind as I go forward with this. Not positive exactly what I'm going to do, but I've got a fairly decent idea. I'm going to mix up a couple of greens. I want one that's really quite yellow and actually almost yellow tan. So let me make up another mixture here. I'd had a little bit of brown in this. I'm going to add more yellow to it, and this I'm going to use the Aurelian yellow because it leans a little more toward the green side. And then let's just add a touch more burnt sienna to that, and then a little bit of sap green. Throw some more yellow in there. And I think it almost feels to me like I need to put a little bit of orange in there. Orange? No, that'd be burnt sienna. Yeah, we'll just put a little bit of burnt sienna in there. Yeah, that's looking better. I want it to be just sort of a browny yellow. I think I'm liking that better. I think that's going to work with this brighter green. This is leaf green right here. I'm going to put some of that into this mixture that I had already started that was sap green and yellow. And then let's put a little more of that yellow in it. I'm going to clean my brush just so I don't get as much green into my yellow mixture here. Just a little bit more yellow to it. So then that's going to be a nice little bright green. And then my third green I want to mix is going to be more of a blue green. Just because I need it here and there. It's going to go into this foreground. It's going to go into the foreground area here. And so I want to have it prepared. So this is ultramarine blue. With sap green. And then toning it down just a little bit by adding burnt sienna to it. Okay, so I'm going to need to pull this over. You guys haven't been able to see this while I was doing it. So let me pull this over so you can see these a little better. So this is the very yellowish brown green, a very light, fresh green with yellow and sap green with ultramarine blue in it and a little bit of burnt sienna to make a darker green. So those are my 3 greens for right now. And let me just mix one more thing, and that is going to be a purplish color, purpley gray. So this is quinacridone mauve and burnt sienna mixed with it. A little bit of ultramarine blue in there. Still a little bit bright. Okay, and then let's just put some Quin Gold into it. That'll gray it down just a little bit. It's more gray than I was expecting. All right, go back and put a little purple back in there. Yeah, that's better. Just a little hint of purple in there. Then that can be sort of that grayish tone that's in those hillsides. Okay, now, do we want to pre-wet? Using a fairly big brush, and I'm just sort of pre-wetting with a little bit of paint in my brush so then I can see it better. Now and this is going to be able to come right on into this row as well. What I'm hoping to accomplish is to get this feeling of the hills rolling through here gently. So now I'm going to take some of the brighter green, and there's a little bit right here by the pathway. A little feeling of this purple. It's lighter down in the sort of the little valley area. Dulling that green down just a little bit with some of that purple, purpley gray. Over here too, just a little of that purpley gray. this green is maybe a little bit bright. Encourage that to roll downward. Take a little bit of this darker green and go ahead and put it in here. But I'm going to just leave a little line. Can maybe go up into those bushes. And I'm a little bit feeling like this is popping too high here, so I'm going to clean that brush, dry it, come in and lift. Just sort of take that up into the hillsides just a little bit. Could be a little dry feeling there. And yeah, in here, that needs to lighten up a little bit and go up that road, come up this hillside just a little later. Okay. And let's just add a little bit of purple in here. Maybe that needs to I could come in and dry brush some on later too, but I'm sort of liking the feeling of that bleeding into there. And just a little into here with this darker area here. And dry those out where the bushes are. I might need to just stop on this if I'm not. Yeah, I don't mind that that has a little bit of activity there on the top of that. Although here, this is where I wanted to get it out, right up in there. Remember, when I put the blue sky on, I didn't want to have those lines across that tree, so I'm just picking up a little bit of this paint out of here, even though that's going to go darker, just so I don't get a hard line there. But it's okay if the rest of it, through that open area, we want some of that hard line. And this is going to be light right in front of those bushes, so let me go ahead and get that lifted out. Yes, and we like that light spot. I want to go a little bit more greenish up here. It's starting to dry now, so this is where I can actually maybe come in and dry brush a little bit to get some of that texture. But it's still wet, so it's not going to, it's going to blend in here some. Sure, let that be a little bit of a tree or something up there. Some of these areas are going to have to dry before I can really do much more. I think I'm at about the point where I Got to really keep this off to the side to dry brush. We don't want it as light there. Okay, so now, it's going to get some soft edges on this because it's still just a little bit damp. I can see a little shadow where the grasses are there. And then let's take a lightness right through the top of that. So then it looks like it comes up and over that. I think I better stop. I need to let it dry before I can do these other little bushes. We'll come in and we'll do some more dry brush work on top of this to get that even darker and sort of textured. So we have a pathway that's coming through here. Just step away from it. I need to step away from it. I let this dry, and there's a couple of things that I wanted to do before I sort of leave this for the next stage. One is that I felt like this was a little too dark right here. It really takes my eye right over into there. It's okay if it's a little gray, but not being that, I don't want it that dark. I'm feeling like I want a little glow on the top of this hill, so I can soften that a little bit, and then we'll come in and we'll do some dry brush work over this part of the hill here. And we might dry brush a little bit of green in some of these other areas. But for right now, let's start with lifting that. So the balance just sort of got off, and which makes this then feel like it's a little too strong over here. My eye gets pulled right into that spot, and I didn't like that. And the other thing that we could do, this road, just in this lower part of it, I'm seeing it as being a little bit darker in the middle and a little lighter toward these edges. So I'm going to just lift a little bit on those edges, because this is, people drive on this occasionally, so it's actually got tire marks on it. And maybe a little bit of lifting right back there. Okay. Just sort of, there's, I don't know, little things that are I just feel like they need to get touched up just a little bit. I like that much better with that lighter. And this dark spot right here also, let's lighten that guy right up. And I can even, and then the next decision that you guys are going to help me make, I'm not going to do it today, whether we want to make that sky a little bit darker and make those clouds pop out a little more, or if we like it the way it is. Okay, so now what else needed to be dealt with? It's okay there. Oh, we wanted to soften this little edge right here. Remember, I left a little bit of hard white there because I didn't want the green to bleed like it did here up into that area back behind. So just sort of soften that out a little bit. And now I'm going to do a little bit, oh, this was the other thing. This was a bit too dark right there. And I'm also thinking that I'm going to maybe scumble some of that greenish color. Let's try this. Just dry brush along the side here to make some of this green happen right along this hilltop. Liking that a little bit better. And let's do a little of that right in here as well. And then maybe a little down this hillside. Interesting thing that, you know, when I did that wet and wet, it actually sort of settles into the paper and lightens up and grays out very slightly. And we're going to try that same thing down in here. I'm just moving this so that I can get to it a little easier with my brush, because I have to be very sideways with this as I put the paint on. So this is making this grass area darker here, but leaving a few little light places behind. I'm going to leave that pathway as being a little bit lighter. And then we can just lighten the top edge of this very slightly. And once this is totally dry, then I can come back and do those bushes that are just behind there. They're going to come up and sort of crisp out right next to that edge. Okay, anything else? Oh, I do feel like this road up here further, it's sort of a greenish brown. Let's get a little more burnt sienna into there. And then it becomes more green as it comes down into here. Oh yeah, let's do that. this is feeling a little better to me. It just felt like it needed a little help. Let's spread that out a little bit so my brush mark doesn't show so much. Just sort of the feeling of the early spring grass coming in. A little darker tree right here. Oh, when I start getting some of those in there, that's going to be interesting. Okay, but I was going to let that wait and do those trees along with this one later on. But those are definitely going to change the feel of this. We'll darken those more later. Just that feel is happening. These will be darker than what's in front. Right now they're not. I know the temptation is to just keep working on this, but I really wanted to stop so that I'm not running too much of a demo for you guys. So let's stop right here. I'm liking this better. Once I get that tree in, we get some of those bushes in, then we can make, well, before we do the tree, I have to decide the sky. So let's stop here